Hello and welcome back. I'm Trish Triumpho Sullivan and I'm here with lecture number 2 on pure or blind contour drawing. And let's talk about this very briefly. So this is going to be something that we do in class for about 5, or not in class, but for class. And it's going to take about 5 minutes per day, no more, all right? But I don't want you to skimp on this. 5 minutes is a really short time for homework. And it's pretty much the only homework you're going to have other than reading the book and doing some of the exercises, which we'd normally be doing during class hours. So I want you to remember that in this class, we would normally be spending 6 hours a week, or actually almost 7 hours a week in the classroom. Yeah, right? 7 hours in the classroom. And you're also expected to spend probably about 3 to 4 hours outside the classroom every week. So 5 minutes a day is just a small portion of the outside the classroom work that you'll be doing. So a pure contour drawing or a blind contour, which either way you can, they're both correct terms. I think in the book that we go by, which is Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, she calls it pure contour drawing. Now the secret for this is that you don't look at your paper while you're drawing. And that's a very important thing. We don't want you to be looking at the paper. We want you to be looking at your subject. Now, as far as your subject goes, for the first one, we basically use the palm of our hand, all the little tiny lines on the palm of your hand. And you're not drawing the outside of your hand. You're not drawing a portrait of your hand. This is an exercise that helps you to get into the right side of your brain, which is the whole point of doing this book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, because we want you to access that creative portion of your brain that's needed in order to be successful in the painting. And if you've already are experienced painter, this will raise your level and the quality of your work, okay? So this is an example of what a pure contour drawing would look like when you're done, right? It looks like a bunch of scribbles. It doesn't look like anything super fancy, okay? So we'll do a quick demo on this. What are some of the things you can use? You want things that have a lot of complicated and intricate, surfaces, I guess you'd call it, or texture. So in this case, I have a sponge. I have a toothbrush, right? That's a nice complicated thing there. I also have a crumbled up piece of aluminum foil. So, it goes to show you that pretty much anything can work. Other really good ones are feathers, right? A feather is good. Popcorn. And even think something like tree bark or cement or texture on a wall, right? Once you start looking closely at it, you'll see that there's a lot of detail, and that's what you want, is the detail. Because we want our left brain, which is the logical, hey, I've got a symbol for that side of the brain, and the very verbal side that doesn't allow the creativity, because creativity takes some time, right? On the right side of the brain, it's kind of timeless, which is why when you're in something, you're really involved in something that's really creative, you often lose track of time, and time just flies by. You don't even know where it went to. So I'm going to do a quick demo on how to do a blind or pure contour drawing. So let me find a page that will work here. And that said, look, I don't want you tracing your hand, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about having something that looks like this when you're done, okay? So you really need to take your time. And for this project, I really want you guys to use your small sketchbook. So I want you to get a small sketchbook, right about, this size, or maybe even 5 by 7, but not too big, something you can carry in your pocket or purse so that you can make sure you spend your 5 minutes per day doing this every day. This is a very important thing. So that said, I'm going to start by using the palm of my hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my back to the paper. To do this, you want to keep your pencil on the paper at all times. I actually like to kind of feel the size of the paper before I start and kind of look at it, kind of orient my hand to the paper, because this is an exercise that basically connects what you see, what you're perceiving, to your hand, whether it's a pencil or a paintbrush. Okay, so this is a great way to hone your skills and raise the quality of your work. So I'm going to start by just doing the lines on the palm of my hand. And to do that, I normally set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes, right? That way I don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm not going to spend the whole 5 minutes today because obviously it's a lecture. You don't need to see the whole thing, but I want you to see what I'm doing so you have an idea of what I'm expecting of you, right? You're not supposed to see the paper, so I want you to turn your back on it. And you're going to use whichever hand you use to draw with. If you're left-handed, use your left hand. Right-handed, use your right hand. But start by just looking at the palm of your hand. And as your eye moves slowly over the lines in the palm of your hand, so does your pencil move. Notice that I don't pick my pencil up. And as I start getting into this, I see that there's so many more lines than I really saw when I first looked. When you first look, you see a couple of, maybe 5 or 6 big, deep lines. But as you look closer and get into the detail, you see that there's a lot more lines there than you possibly imagined. And it's okay to go over a line twice in order to get to another spot. You want to keep your pencil on the paper. You don't lift it up, right? And so you're going to look at your hand and you're just going to keep doing these lines all the way up and do every little detail. Get into it. Look at every little line. And as your eye slowly moves, have your pencil move at the same place as your eye, very slowly. This is almost like a meditation. It should relax you. This should be 5 minutes of nice, relaxing drawing time where you don't have to worry about what your drawing looks like, right? So notice that as I slowly move my hand, my eyes over the palm of my hand, and I'm following these little lines, I'm slowly moving my pencil as well. I'm not going quickly, I'm going very slowly, right? And then I see another line, and I'm going to follow that line, right? I'm going to keep going and slow. So I'm going to be quiet for a second because it's hard to be verbal while you're doing this. And notice how slow I'm moving. If you feel yourself speeding up, acknowledge that and slow back down again. Allow yourself to get lost in the fascination of these millions of lines or thousands of lines on the palm of your hand. Okay, so when you're done, you can look at what you did. It should look something like this. Maybe not exactly, right? But you should have something that looks like this. Make sure that you sign and date your work. Every single thing that you do, I want you to sign it and date it. So I'm going to make my signature here. Today, right? And write what it is. So in this case, it's the palm of my hand. Right? If you do a sponge, right? Write sponge. If you do a toothbrush, write toothbrush. If you do a feather, write feather. Whatever it is, it needs to be really intricate, so that you can really get lost in it. So sometimes even some knobby fabric, something that's been knitted. As you look closely at it, you're going to see there's a lot more detail than you realize. And the idea is to get lost in the detail, right? You want to get in there and just let yourself go for 5 minutes. Set your timer on your phone or some other timer so that you can not go too long, but you don't want to shortchange yourself. Don't try to be in a hurry. This is something that you need to take your full 5 minutes on and just enjoy it. Enjoy the meditative quality of it, because once you get that feeling of how it feels to be in the right side of your brain when you're creating, you're going to find you have a lot more enjoyable experience with it, and you won't be so worried about mistakes. And honestly, you guys, there are no mistakes in art. There's only happy coincidences, right? So enjoy doing this and trying it. And I want you to start keeping in your small sketch pad, your small sketch journal, a daily record of your blind contour drawings. And we'll see you in class.